Greetings, everyone. David J. Coon with Qigong Awareness, episode number 24. Bridging off of the last episode here a little bit, continuing on. So one of the things that I am most known for out of all the different things that I do, martial arts instructor, Qigong instructor, medical Qigong master, counselor, therapist, coach. I've been all of these things over the last 40 years and have developed these different aspects of myself. Of all of the things that I'm most known for, so to speak, and the one that is the biggest mind blower for myself and for a lot of others, is that I'm known as a healer. And I put healer in quotations because the healer with a capital H is bigger than me. So whether you want to call that God, source, Tao, the force, whatever you like to call it, there's absolutely something that lives within me that is bigger than me. No matter how big I try and make my biceps or how big I try and make my personality, or how many college degrees I get, or how many things I study, or how creative I am with my words to amuse people or uplift people spiritually. There's a movement within me that has to do with that practice of centering that I referred to in the last episode, that has to do with what some like to call presence, the presence within me, so on, that is bigger than me and it is beyond words. And here's the way that I put it to folks. Some of you might find this interesting and you might be able to increase your own experience with it and benefit from it. I've been calling on God, source, existence, Tao, and I've been calling it many names since I was a child. And I've always been very engrossed in the world of spirituality. I used to skip school often. A lot of kids in school who remember me from those time periods, I'm sure saw me very differently than who I was. I had a really hard time being in school and being around, in my mind at the time, the fakeness of everything, the superficiality of everything. And I didn't have the depth of wisdom that I do today to be a healer in that way to those people that were around me, in the same way that I am for the people who are around me these days, because I didn't understand where my center was. I didn't understand who I was, and I didn't understand who I was not. I was very confused about who I was and who I was not. And I think many people in the world can relate to that today if they think about it, because I think most people don't know who they are. And we have all kinds of feedback from the universe, from our family members, from our lovers and bosses and teachers, whatever the case may be, at whatever phase and stage of our life, about who it is that we're supposed to be, right? But that's not who we are. That's what a lot of spiritual teachers would call, me included, the false self. It is the false self. So I myself was wrestling with this false self, this idea of like who I am, right? And meanwhile, I had this other self calling to me, so to speak. At the time, I wouldn't have called it that. I don't know what I would have called it. I would have just called it retreat. I used to just go to the woods and spend hours in the woods being by myself and wanting to be by myself and not really understanding this world and having a hard time being around it, honestly, which is why as I approached my teens, I began to experiment with drugs and things. For me, that experimentation only lasted about 3 years, but it was there. And um, I don't want to get too woo-woo. I want to try and bring it down to earth as best I can, but there's a deep space within you, and it goes beyond what people think about you. And it goes beyond the color of your skin, and it goes beyond what you wear and what you choose to wear. or what you have to wear, or whatever the case may be. And that space in some teaching has been called like the I am presence within you. Um, Again, sometimes referred to as your center. And as simple as I can make it for today's episode, uh, when you quiet the noise, okay, and imagine a deep wood, a deep forest, right? Very deep. In that forest, just imagine it's so quiet, it's so peaceful. Right up until somebody brings like a boombox in, right? They're playing really loud music, whatever kind of music, and it's very loud and so on, and it's disrupting the harmony of the forest, right? A forest has this has a certain kind of harmony to it, right? And then in comes this discord, this noise that's, you know, again, not to offend anyone, but just some type of music that creates a little bit of a ruckus in the forest, right? Maybe a music that's a little different than what the squirrels would play, all right? Uh, you play that music, and if you're the average human being, you become consumed by that noise, right? You become consumed by the noise, and you cannot hear the stillness that is there in the forest. That's kind of what's happening to us right now in so many ways, on the planet, in our personal lives. It's just as a whole, it's a cute little story. It has a lot of meaning to it because that's what's happening. We have noise happening all around us. Well, I don't need to go into all the details of what that is. You already know what it is, right? So when I was a kid, I withdrew. I went to the forest. I grew up a little bit more. I entered into temples, so to speak, and dojos and so on, training and meditating and continuing to go back to the forest and continuing to go out to nature to come back to myself and find out who am I? Who am I really, right? Beyond the clothes, beyond the image, because I have clothes like this, but I also had clothes. I was dressed like I don't know, a hippie, also rock and roll person at certain points. I had hair down to the middle of my back and so on. So it's not about the images that we take, that's the actor or the actress on the stage of life, right? The truth is that you can change your act anytime you want to. That's the truth. Whatever act you've been in, whatever role you've been playing, you can change it because whether you know it or don't know it, whether you admit it or don't admit it, whether you want to see it or don't want to see it, you're an actor, you're an actress on the stage of life. And the truth is, you can change your role. No matter how ingrained you are in that role, you can change it. Does it take work? Yeah, it takes work. Just like any role in any play or any movie, right? Whatever. That's why we love some of these actors and actresses that can play, one role over here and then a totally different role over there because it's a skill. And if you could have that skill in your life, it would be pretty amazing. Now, what I'm talking about, that's part of it, but there's an even deeper level to that, right? So the deeper level, which is really what I want to enter into and give you at least a taste for as best I can here today, is within you lives who you are. That has nothing to do with who you are in form, what you look like, what you dress like, what roles you have played, or what roles you'll choose to play in the future. It's spacious. It's a place of connection. It's a place of unity, a place of oneness, a place of self-acceptance. It's a rather profound place. And again, we could call it center. So as a quote unquote healer, how do I use that? How do I apply that? And so on. Because that's the showstopper for most people out of all of the work that I do. I can talk about being an actor on the stage of life. I could talk about Qigong. I could talk about breaking the circuitry of your past and doing breath of fire. The part that people are most interested in overall, at least thus far in my life, uh, is when I just go beyond the words and I show them in such a way where maybe I bring healing to their daughter, or I bring healing to their son, or I bring healing to their sister or their husband. And I could sit down and explain to people how I do it, and I often do. Um, but it took me a long time to learn how to do it. And sometimes it just helps to shortcut to the chase because the family member doesn't have time to learn this, okay? You don't have time to teach the daughter, hey, this is how to do this, because it's going to take her the next 50 years, and you don't have 50 years. So here's the thing. Can a healer, can a being that has trained to be a conduit for healing energy, for source, for center, for presence, for unconditional love, for healing energy, for the force, can that being sit back and allow that to come through energetically, emotionally, and even on some level physically, which is really the energetic, but you know, can they let that come through, and can they somehow convey that to another person? Yes, but they don't just convey it to another person, guys, gals. They're conveying it to another energy field, from one energy field to another energy field. That's why it can happen, and that's why it works on the level that it works. And a simplified version, as best as I can give it to you. Grandfather clocks. Did you know this about grandfather clocks? You put them all in the same room, right? And they're all doing their tick-tock, and their pendulum is swinging at different times. They're at a different pace, right? And after a while, they come to some kind of average. They average out, and they come to some kind of entrainment, okay? Where all of a sudden, everything is moving at the same time. The ticking and the talking is happening at the same time. They're oscillating at the same time. And somehow they've come into this rhythm. This also happens when women are living together who are menstruating, and they have their period at the same time. Very interesting phenomena, where they all begin to entrain to this particular pace. Now, this is the same kind of idea, concept, teaching, science that exists also behind, for example, a very powerful guru, for example. A very powerful guru, a legit guru, will sit there in meditation, and they are vibrating at a particular state, at a particular rate, a particular vibration, however you want to think about that. Their energetic field is typically very big. And then other people come to sit around that field, that energy field, and what happens is what's called an entrainment. As a healer myself, using simple terms and as best as I can explain it, I don't try and fix someone or heal someone. If I just try and stay like this and then go try and heal someone in the same way that I would go like lift some weights, it doesn't do anything. So for the most part, I may be able to do some massage or something, but like to go to deeper healing, that doesn't really cut it. When it comes to crisis level healing, which I'm very well known for in certain circles for being a part of. I thought one day I was going to grow up and be an ER doctor because I always seem to be around these different dynamics. But over the years, there have been a lot of people who have contacted me in crisis, pets, humans, etc., people, brothers, sisters, cousins, etc., that have something going on. And together with whoever called me, whether it was the person or whether it was the sister or the mother, whoever it is, together, we join together and somehow have been able to influence, let's just say, test results, doctors' test results, outcomes, creating what some people would refer to as miracles. And I've seen it, I've witnessed it, and I participate in it, and I'm a part of it, and I feel it come through me. And it's beyond me. I do believe that everybody has access to it. I believe that everybody has access to it. Jesus taught it. He said the kingdom of heaven is within you. Stop looking outside, look within. I think a lot of people are, especially when they become sick or they have diseasement of some kind, they become very afraid. And in that fear, they look outside themselves even further. Now, I'm not suggesting that this eliminates the need for ER doctors. I'm not suggesting that this eliminates the need for Western medicine and so on and so forth, because it doesn't. Simultaneously, is it possible for a being to change the energetic state of another being? Is it possible to calm myself down enough in the presence of someone else's stress, fear, confusion, dilemma, to such a degree that I'm able to somehow convey that calm to them, to enough of a degree that they begin to resonate with what I'm resonating with, like grandfather clocks creating some kind of entrainment? Is it possible that their tick-tock, okay, that the oscillation of their pendulum starts to vibrate with the oscillation of my pendulum? And if my pendulum is in a state of calm, and it is in a state of rest, and it is in a state of meditation, is it possible to convey that state to someone else and bring that person into harmony with that change in energy, with that change in state? Is it possible? Yeah, it is. It's possible in science. It's possible with grandfather clocks. It's possible with women who are menstruating and having their periods. It's also possible between a healer or a legit guru, for example, and someone who is choosing to come and meet and greet with that guru, that teacher. Could be a meditation teacher, could be referred to as a master, whatever the case may be. But the point is that that being changes their state, and they know how to change their state, and they know how to come back to self. Is it possible for them to change the state of the other person, or at least help the other person change their state? Yes. And at the deepest level, so to speak, that we might talk about, it's hard with some of this stuff. It's not the greatest words for it, but here's some simple words for it, as best as I can make it. You and me, on a deep level, we're one and the same. So the outside, we're not the same. People I grew up with in high school and people that are watching me today on YouTube, you like my shirt, you don't like my shirt. We're not the same on that level. But on a very deep level, we're the same. And on a deeper level, in the higher energetic states that exist within the heart chakra, for example, and above and beyond, which I've talked about in previous episodes, we're one, we're joined. And we're both calm. We're both peaceful. But there's this other noise going on. There's this other anomaly going on. What is this noise, this disruption that has come into the forest? Well, the spiritual teachers refer to that as ego. Ego is the noise. Ego is the confusion. So is it possible, when you take two or more and they gather with a common intention, to know something higher, to know something greater? Is it possible to vibrate, oscillate, so on, at a very higher rate, for example, like a higher rate of light, a higher speed of light, a higher vibration? Is it possible? It's entirely possible. That's what the entire work is based upon. So when I go to work with an individual, or I go to work with a group of people, like I do in distance healing program, I have a list of people and maybe some pets on there and so on too. And I literally go, first I put myself in a state, a healing state. For me, these days, after almost 40 years of doing it, I enter the state very quickly. One day it'll be interesting to put myself on a brain scan and see what's actually happening there. But for right now, I can just tell you that I know it changes, and it happens very quickly for me. And when I go into that state, some people will come into that state with me very quickly also. So somebody can be in crisis, somebody can be having quite a bit of crisis going on, and this very interesting phenomena, they come into my state very quickly. We see a shift, we see a result very quickly. And in those cases, you see a change often in the results that the doctors or the veterinarian is conveying back to us. And that's a very interesting phenomena. And other times it takes a longer period of time for people to begin to resonate and come into that greater state, which is why distance healing program happens over the course of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and every single Wednesday night we're doing the work, because it takes longer for some to learn to resonate at this other sort of vibration, but this other vibration would bring healing. This other vibration would bring clearing. And for a lot of people, it very often does. It just takes some time for people to catch up to speed with that. Now, there are certain things that can be done by the individuals who are looking to join. So let's say I'm playing the role of healer, quote unquote guru, so to speak. I'm putting off a particular vibration, and someone's wanting to align with that healing vibration. First of all, you have two minds or more gathering around that vibration, and in distance healing program we have more, because there are more than two people gathering around the common intention of wanting to heal. And this is from all around the world. I have people on the distance healing program from all around the world, and they're tuning in. Some are tuning in at the exact time that I do it, which starts at 6 p.m. every Wednesday evening, East Coast time. And other people are tuning in at different times. They're waking up in the middle of the night. I tell people, light a candle, tune into the energy that's already been created, tune into the group, and then begin to resonate and vibrate with that energy. And watch what your body goes through. Watch how your body responds. As the group is growing and the energy is growing and the practice is growing and so on and so forth, well, you got to imagine that this big energy ball that we're creating is growing and growing and growing. It creates even more of something for people to feed off of, if that makes sense, like a big battery or something, right? So a big charge, in other words. So there are things that people can do to resonate to a greater degree. In other words, set up the opportunity for greater resonance to tune in and to connect and so on and so forth. And that means turning down the obnoxious music. That means calming their mind, quieting their mind. That means turning on some soft music in the background. It means lighting a candle. It means setting an intention. As I've said in previous episodes, intention is 10,000 times more powerful than this noise, this thinking. So when someone comes to sit with me, for example, and their mind is thinking, I just watch. I listen, I watch, I observe. I know how to not just have that thinking like ramp me up. And so my practice allows that person to ramp down, as opposed to they're stressed, then I'm stressed, then they're stressed, they ramp up, I ramp up, they ramp up, I ramp up. Healing work is the opposite. We ramp people down. Kind of interesting in a way, because on one hand you could say we sort of ramp people down, meaning we calm them down, which interestingly enough, the little paradox here, because that actually is increasing their vibration. So technically it's actually ramping them up in a vibratory sense, and it's expanding their energetic experience. And by the way, when that happens, it doesn't just change what's going on in the physical body. It changes what's happening in a person's relationships. It changes what happens in somebody's luck, because it's not really exactly luck, call it luck, but it's called law of attraction. It starts to change what's going on in their vibration. So and another way of saying it, if you're following this, because again, it's tricky to talk about this stuff, especially if you haven't heard a lot of it before, but it helps pull them out of egoic state. It helps pull them out of their own ego, which is like that dog chasing its tail, that noise that you hear in the forest that you can't get to be quiet, the nagging that you're hearing, some of you are hearing from your past, gnawing at you, the judgmental qualities of the ego and so on. It helps draw you up and out of that place, out of that state. And so I think a really cool thing is happening, and I'm going to leave it at this for now. I think a really cool thing is happening on the planet. People are starting to have a little bit of a bridge of science and a little bit of bridge of practice, so that we don't have to get too caught up in the dogma of things to follow me, for example, as a guru or a master or something. Yes, I have my own level of mastery, but you also need to have your own level of mastery. And then if we understand the science behind it a little bit and we understand how it works, then we can practice together and we can make really amazing things happen. Each one of us has Christ within us. Each one of us has Buddha within us. And if we didn't, this would all be futile. But the truth is that we do. I believe it's the truth. Others do as well. and our opinion and our movement is growing on the planet. I hope you will join it in whatever capacity you so desire, because the planet could really use it, and I know you could too. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.